Hey guys, Tristan here from the CPAPstore.ca. We have been getting hammered with so many questions in regards to F40 sizing. It's a pretty new mask, or I guess it's not that new in the US, but it's super new in Canada. So we've just been starting to get feedback with it, and we've been able to make our F40 sizing guide. So I'll put that in the comments/description below. And basically this is just a sizing guide that uses a ruler, because the sizing guides that come with the mask obviously are good and you put them underneath your nose, but it's very hard to use those if you don't have them because you haven't ordered your mask yet. So hopefully our system works for you. Now, it's not a perfect system. It's kind of like buying shoes or jeans or whatever. It's not gonna work 100% of the time. 3 sizes to it, the small, wide, the medium, and the large, okay? And you basically have to measure your nose in 2 different ways. So you're gonna take a ruler like this. I'm gonna use an imperial ruler with inches. I'm gonna put it out to my nose and measure the width here, just like that. And I am 1 inch or 1.5 inches wide. So I'm gonna, write it down, 1.5 inches wide. Okay, so next I'm gonna measure the length of my nose. Not gonna jam it into my lip there. That's gonna give a false reading. Just nice and light right there. Push my little finger right there and look at it. So it's 0.75 inches. So I'm gonna write that down. Okay, so after writing it down, let's do some analysis here. 1.5 is my width. So 1.5 kind of fits in the small wide area, just barely in that small wide area. And then it also fits in the medium. So I'm either a medium or a small wide. So I'm just gonna circle that here. And then in the length category, I'm 0.75 long, okay? And so where does that fit? Well, again, fits in the small wide and fits in the medium. So I'm kind of at the border areas here. I'm a little bit more of a medium because I fit pretty good in the wide category for a medium. And then I'm like barely squeezing into the length measurement for the medium as well as a small wide. So I know I'm either a small wide or medium. Then I'm gonna look at my nose. What type of nose do I have? Do I have a squishy nose? Yes, I do. It's a little more of an Asian nose, a little more of a button nose. And typically in my prior experience, I always fit the small wide variants better because the small wide variants are made for the more Asian, African button noses, okay? So I'm actually gonna be a small wide, even though I could be a small wide or medium, and I've used the medium, and the medium does work. I would probably try a small wide first. Now that is because my experience, I've tried every single CPAP mask on the market, and small wide works for me. But if this is you and you're kind of in between a small wide and medium, I don't think you can go wrong with medium. Both work for me. I'm going to go through some more measurements here that we've gotten from our clients. One client said that they had a 1.75 wide nose and a 1.0 inch long nose. Okay, so with 1.75, they are in the medium category. Actually, they're in all 3 categories almost. They're on the higher end of the small wide. They are in the they're in the higher end of the medium, and they're just barely also in that large measurement there. And then we have the length measurement of 1. So they're either going to be fitting in the medium or they're going to be fitting in the large. Considering they have a pretty large nose in terms of width, and they're definitely either a medium or large in terms of length, this person is probably gonna be a large or a medium, okay? Like I said, if they are large in all their other masks they've used in the past, they're probably gonna wanna choose a large here. If it's their first time using CPAP, you might be able to just have a safer bet with the medium, but that's just another one of those kind of in-between ones, right? You have to make the judgment on yourself. What does your face shape look like? What are the past CPAP masks you've used? If you're in between like a medium or large, you got to make that judgment call. Last client here, 1.6 width and length was 1.2. So 1.6 width, that fits right perfectly in that medium, also fits in that small wide. 1.2 length fits in that medium and fits in that large, okay? So clearly they are a medium or small wide in terms of width, and medium to large in terms of length. So what does that mean? They hit medium and at least 2 of those categories, they are a medium. Now in terms of frame sizes, ResMed didn't put out like too many calculations, but they did put out this. Okay, this is the distribution of who uses what frame size. 90% of people use a standard frame, okay? 5% is a small and 5% is a large. So I have 2 hats here, for example. This is a hat here, is a small medium. It's my hat, right? Just, there's no buckles or anything, right? So it has to be perfect for my head. And then we have this hat here with a Velcro adjustment. one size fits all. Well, the CPAP mask has 4 adjustment points, okay? So it's pretty much as one size fits all as you're gonna get from a medical appliance. It's 4 adjustment points, and it's also a somewhat kind of stretchy-ish material. That's why they're confident saying that 90% of people are the standard frame. In terms of hat sizes, if you're familiar with hats, I would typically say a hat size of 6 7/8 or below would be a small, a hat size of 7 3/4 or higher would be a large, and then everything in between would be a standard. Average male head size is 7 3/8, and that's totally gonna be a standard. It's not like other things, like for example, I'm 6'1", pretty slim guy, but in general, like for hoodies and t-shirts and socks, gloves, I'm always gonna pick a large, right? Large, 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 large. That's not like that with CPAP masks and like head sizes. Unless you know you're like a big-headed guy, your relatives are like, oh, George, yeah, the guy with the big head. You're confident if there's 100 people in a room, you'd have the biggest head. Unless you know you have a big head, you're probably a standard. We've laid all the size headgears out on the table, and the difference between a large, medium, and small frame is pretty minimal. It's like half of an inch. So you're really not gonna go wrong. If you are humming and hawing, probably be a standard, okay? Now, one more thing to comment on. If you're going from an F20 to an F40, what I've noticed on a lot of YouTube comments we've had on the channel and just in Reddits and forums and stuff like that, we find that people who complain about the F40 leaking say, I'm switching back to the F20. So something about whoever's face shape works with the F20 is not always working with the F40, and that should be noted. People who are switching from the F30, Evora, like other full face masks seem to love the F40, but people who switch from the F20, it seems kind of like hit or miss, so that's something to note. The next thing is pressure. I would definitely recommend the F40 to anyone below a 15 pressure because it's a little more flexible headgear and a lot more squishy, and it kind of like, it's okay with a lower pressure because it doesn't like inflate and kind of move, but I noticed that once you're in that maybe 16 is kind of all right, but 17, 18, 19, 20, the cushion kind of like inflates a little bit too much, kind of moves a bit, and I was kind of finding some leaks when you start moving around a little bit. I would definitely recommend, it's kind of a 16, 15 pressure and below mask, probably a standard headgear, and then the rest you can use the PDF below to find your mask cushion size. Okay, that's all. Bye-bye. Subscribe. Thanks.